I am Greg Jarrett, and you are in the strategy room. Hillary Clinton now asking the State Department to make thousands of her emails available to the public. This comes after the uproar that followed the revelation she used a private email account exclusively for her correspondent while Secretary of State. Could this controversy impact Clinton's potential 2016 run? Joining us now with analysis, political strategist Basil Smikle Jr., Scotty Nell Hughes. See, with three names, it's really hard to get
at least you
out.
get two of the three right.
You know, Basil, you worked for her at one time, right?
I did. I worked in the Senate office, right?
All right, so you're going to defend her because you're a loyalist and you're a good guy. Is there any defending the indefensible?
I don't think this is indefensible, though.
Really?
She has not broken any laws. She's been asked to turn over her emails from her time in the State Department, which she has done, 55,000 of them. And again, the law that required a State Department email usage exclusively was signed after she left. She is John Kerry, in fact, is the first state Secretary of State to use the government email exclusively. So she didn't break any rules and regulations, and she's turned over the document. So I don't think she has anything to hide.
Scotty?
You've got to give her credit. At least she can find the loopholes. She knows where the loopholes are, and she found it. But here's what really scares me in all this. If this is such a problem now, and you see Democrats even starting, besides loyalists, sitting there saying, why didn't she have this? Why didn't they call this out when she was actually Secretary of State?
Right.
That first time you received an email from Clinton.com, Hillary@Clinton.com, why didn't they say, you know what, this might not be the best move. I suggest you maybe get a State Department email. Why is this now coming out? Is this something the Clintons actually released now, thinking, okay, that gives us 20 months before the election to sit there and build some padding?
Well, but let's be clear that this came out not just now. This was actually known to Republicans prior to this in the context of the Benghazi hearings, the interminable Benghazi
Trey
hearings.
Gowdy says that's not true.
The interminable Benghazi hearings. And I think, in my opinion, this is just a way to sort of keep that conversation about Benghazi going. I don't think there's anything here. Jeb Bush has 3 million emails from when he was a governor. Only 250,000 of those have been released.
This is not uncommon. But he doesn't fall under
But this is not uncommon.
Hold on, Jeb Bush, the stuff going on in Florida is one thing. It's another thing internationally. When you're dealing as a Secretary of State, when you're dealing with security officials, this is how...
And classified documents and classified information, if it was solely in her personal possession, I think some federal investigators might want to look at that. But look, here's what is troubling to some people. All right, so now she has been forced to hand over roughly 55,000 emails. How many did she not hand over? How many, maybe there are hundreds of thousands of emails. After all, she was Secretary of State for several years. What if her aides have culled through those which are damaging and withheld those? Is there any assurance that that hasn't happened?
Well, her aides have been on record saying that they've gone through her emails. They're on record.
But that's very subjective.
Well, I give you that there are going to be folks that are going to wonder whether or not they're keeping anything back. They will argue that they're only keeping back things that are personal in nature. We have to believe that any subpoena or ask from, let's say, this Benghazi committee, asking her for any of these emails, that they will turn over anything related to the
She put together a personal server under a secret pseudonym. I know that's somewhat redundant.
But it's not secret.
Well, but it is. Nobody knew the synonym except for her and anybody else living at that Chappaqua address and helping on the server.
But the names, it wasn't in D.C. This is a server outside.
Well, because you said her house.
It was in a residence.
But the names that these servers were registered under are known individuals, and you
Isn't
can
it
easily find that
to use
information out.
a pseudonym in an exclusively private email when you're Secretary of State?
Not if you're Hillary Clinton and you're trying to maintain some level of...
The government has encrypted emails. Wouldn't that be more protective?
I would imagine that if that was the case, there would have been a law, as you said earlier, requiring her to have this government email.
Maybe because
that clearly was not the case.
They just assumed that people would do. I mean, once again, our government assuming. She found a loophole on this.
And let's also note that anybody that she's emailing She clearly emailed people on their government email. So it was going to be captured.
I said, wait a minute,
one way
this
or
is the
another.
excuse she came out with. This was where I knew that there was something that stunk about this whole thing. Her first defense of this was like, well, when I was emailing people on the State Department, I knew it was going to be, they were the ones going to be responsible for holding the email. Now, wait a minute, what about you yourself? But one point that you brought up is the aides. It's one thing about what the Secretary of State does. She might be completely kosher and done everything right. We all know how this works. You've watched House of Cards. It's the aides around her that I wanted to see their emails as well.
And the optics of this, doesn't this appear to some as a premeditated attempt to deceive?
Well, I don't know about that. I will take your point, though, that for folks that don't necessarily pay attention on a day-to-day basis to her or maybe on the fence about her, the optics of this will seem a little messy. I grant you that. But I will not sort of have a knee-jerk reaction to it and say that she was doing something to sort of undermine transparency and accountability of the office.
Doesn't
I think
this
that takes it a
simply
step too
fuel
far.
the narrative that the Clintons have a track record of being less than transparent, hiding things, and maybe considering themselves above the law?
I'm going to go the broader picture. It's not only the Clintons, this entire administration who, when the first thing Obama said, I'm going to make this a transparent administration. And yet we see continuous stories of forgotten emails, lost hard drives. We don't know where the president was on that night. We continue to have this, and guess what? We allow them to get away with it. So they don't care about it.
But this is not exclusive to Democrats. This is what I understand. I mean, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, Chris Christie, all have private emails and do some government work with those private
email.
But they also do government and political work with government emails with private emails.
Because of the laws
this
set up
happens.
because of their campaigns. They have to do it on their personal side.
And you know what? It was Barack Obama that signed into law the bill to say, if we want more transparency, use that government email exclusively.
Got to wrap it up. In defending your old boss, Basil, I give you
thanks.
I give you a B plus A minus. That was pretty strong.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and you didn't have much to work with either. All right, Basil.
That's my loyalty.
Basil Smigel Jr., Scotty Nell Hughes. Thank you both. For more on Hillary Clinton, stick with FoxNews.com. This is a subject that likely will not go away anytime soon. I'm Greg Jarrett. Thanks for watching.